So when you say like the Democratic Party has to understand this, and like we have some people in the IMs who are IM is saying like I love what the Congresswoman is saying, but will the DNC listen? Is there like, do you perceive the Democratic Party to be that there is this sort of like overarching entity that has a philosophy, or is it like a series of individuals that you need to have more individuals like yourself than the other individuals, and then that wins out?
Okay, this is the call. We hear, listen, since November, we've been hearing a lot about like, the DNC, and by we, I mean all of us,
Right.
right? All center left people, the DNC, the DCCC, what is it? I think it's less, big entity, more individuals, but the individuals who run entities matters, right? So I will say the Democratic Party is decentralized. It is far more decentralized. The Democratic Party of Pennsylvania is not the Democratic Party of South Carolina. It's not the Democratic Party of, Iowa. That's just objectively true. The DNC, as far as I don't know the DNC. Nobody from the DNC tapped me and said, Summer, you should run for Congress, or Summer, you shouldn't run for Congress, right? Where good people exist and their communities are organized, you have the power to shape what not just the Democratic or the Republican parties look like, but the government itself. So I don't want people to think of like the DNC, the RNC as like boogeymen that make us feel like we don't have more power than we do. Because it is decentralized, yes, you may have to overcome systemic barriers. We had to do that in my district in Allegheny County, right? We had to do that. I spent last year was the first time I was ever endorsed by the Allegheny County Democratic Committee. And I won anyways, right? We were already winning, which means that people were already on our side. It was just a systemic barrier that we had to notice. We had to address, and we had to move around it and then fix it and change it. We have since put more people now know about the party. So the Democratic Committee is the party. They know about it now. More people are involved. So you can change those things. The question is again, in a democracy, a true democracy, power is inherently with the people. And I think that fundamentally, the concern or the challenge for Americans is that we have had a real hands-off approach to democracy because we have trusted that our government will fundamentally, it might get on our nerves, right? It might not feed us. It might not invest in our schools in the way it should be, but it won't become, a fascist government, right? The Nazis won't take over, right? Mussolini will not be elected, right? So we've had a hands-off approach. It's like, I elect you, you go, you figure it out. But right now, we are actually in a point where we can't be hands-off. We have to be real in it. If you really want to change the course of things, whether it be the DNC or the president himself, the direction of the country itself, then we have to wield the power that's still vested in us. And that means your labor. That means your money. That means organizing. That means sending people who you want. That means taking on the system head on. We have the power to do all those things. So I would say it's decentralized. And that does not absolve the people in leadership of leading and of leading in a way that's responsive to people. I think both of those things are happening.
Lastly, Representative Lee, I know you have to run in a bit, but I am curious just about your reflections on this last election cycle, because two of the members of the squad and company, two of our favorites, Representative Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, were really just taken out by a cannon of AIPAC money. And I remember early on during that time period, you were a third name that was discussed about how a target of AIPAC, but you withstood it. And of course, Ilhan Omar also received a lot of Israel money spending against her. She withstood it too. But how do you reflect on how you were able to overcome that in ways? And even when you contrast it with what your colleagues experienced, it must have been an incredibly kind of difficult hurdle.
Yeah, it wasn't my first rodeo, right? I'm actually one of the first races that AIPAC as an actual PAC, right? Not DMFI, but like AIPAC's PAC, United Democracy Project. My cycle was the first cycle that they actually got in personally in elections. So not just bundling, but also through their IE spend. So I was one of the first races that they went in. That's where they practice all of their tactics, not to ever talk about Israel or Palestine, but to instead talk about whether we're good enough Dems, whether we support, Joe Biden, well enough, things like that. Right? Their tactics were egregious. And who they targeted was not incidental. It was not an accident. Right. The districts, the people that they targeted. So I was the only person who outlasted them that first time. And the second time, we organized. We worked. I worked hard. At the end of the day, when people say, why did you survive and others? I mean, part of it is that we work, but also part of it is that I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm lucky. People support me. We work hard in our district. And I'd say that not to say that or to undermine me and my team, the work that we do, but it is to say that there are candidates who are brilliant, who are equally brilliant, who they are representative of their constituents, of their districts, of their neighborhoods. They've been on the streets, they've been in the trenches. There's nothing that says that they shouldn't have been in Congress as much as I should have been. But sometimes that money hits different. And I want to say it wasn't just AIPAC against Corey and Jamal. Because I don't want to let any money in politics off the hook. My issue ain't just with AIPAC. My issue is with all of it. So crypto PACs actually spent more than any industry in elections last year. They were the number one spender. And yes, they also went in many of the places that AIPAC went to. So it was a 1-2 whammy for Corey and Jamal and for others who never made it in the first place. So that's why it's so important that it's like, listen, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't unleash big money on your progressive enemies or your progressive, those of us who, you're like, we want to protect the institution, so we don't want too many progressives here. You can't be comfortable with unleashing that on our districts, unleashing that into our politics and think that it won't be a wildfire, because it has been a wildfire. Since that type of money has been into our politics, you have seen an exponential rise in outside spending, right, just objectively, right? Every cycle. So Corey's and Jamal's was the most expensive House primary in history. Corey's was the second most expensive House primary in history. And it will only get worse if we don't stop it. And that means that it isn't just a weapon against progressives. It ain't a weapon against MAGA. It's a weapon against our democracy, because the interests of one interest group should not outweigh the interests of the people in their districts, the people in our country. And that's fundamentally what's happening right now. So to outlast it, yeah, we have to raise money. Absolutely. We have to knock on the door. Certainly. We have to show up to work, and we have to, we have to deliver. We have to do all the things that so many other people who had been in office for hundreds of years just don't have to do. We have to get up earlier. We have to stay ready, so we don't got to get ready when you're Black or brown or progressive. And we recognize that. And we will do that.
I got one last question. I know you got to go, but one last question in that regard. And I think your point is very well taken too about that money, because that money's being raised and there's people invested in raising that money and then expending it. And it's sort of like almost like when, rates were at zero, still have wealthy people who want to go make their money work. And so they start creating bubbles. And if there's not enough Jamal Bowmans and Cori Bushes for them to deploy that money on, they're going to start deploying it on other people as well. So it's not going to just end there. But as a member of the squad, we don't hear about the squad so much as we did maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But as a member, like, internally, do you guys have any theories of change? I mean, obviously, like you're relying on organizing in your district. That's how you get elected, and it's about people power in those districts. But within the context of the inside game, do you have theories of change that you talk about? Like, is there a strategy beyond, slowly primarying and maybe very blue areas and getting more? What is the theory of change that you guys employ within the context of the inside game?
Well, I will say that for me personally, right, my theory of change is it cannot, and it will not exist if it is only reliant on, 6 of us talking to each other or 6 of us being it. It is contingent on you all, on the people, on our movement to be a part of that. Because like at the end of the day, we can't hasten the process of more progressives, more, justice, pro-peace, pro-human rights candidates making it to Congress. We have political capital, but it ain't endless. So the answer is, yeah, we absolutely do need more people because we have a Congress of 435 people, and it is a Congress by majority. So by the mathing, we got to make the math. That's number one. And but part of that doing that is not just organizing in our district, but it is how do we use our districts to create a model of what's possible, and how do we then invest in other areas so that they can do that same thing. There are places around this country, and they aren't just deep blue places, because my district is not a deep blue district, right? My district is not a majority Black or majority person of color district, right? It is a majority white, majority suburban district in Western Pennsylvania, which means that our policies, our vision for the country, it works. It works in other places, and we have to make the case. But that does mean that we have to be out there. That does mean that we have to encourage investments into the apparatuses that help us. And I don't just mean electorally, but it does have to be electorally. I'm somebody who believes simultaneously that we have to use every single tool at our disposals. Yeah, we do need people in government, because the reality is that you can't mutual aid the government. You can't out mutual aid, or you can't out organize systemic discrimination. We have to be able to end it here or mitigate it here so that the people on the outside can be comfortable, can be healthy, can be safe, right? It can be prosperous. But we also have to do those things. So I'm a hand-to-hand person. I believe that right now, the thing that we need most are empowered electorates. So my theory of change is that we need people right now from the outside. No major change in our country has come from Congress by itself. It just hasn't, right? The Civil Rights Act, the abolition of slavery, voting rights, the end of the anti-war and anti-apartheid movements all came from people moving the Congress, from people moving power, wielding power. And I believe in that to this day, which is why I believe in the power of young people entering the time-honored tradition of student activism. I believe in that deeply. I believe in the power of organized labor. I think that that's why, the president has attacked the two things that undergird democracy: education and organized labor, right? Mm. I believe in a disciplined, use of your money or withholding of your money. I believe in those things. And at the same time, yeah, we have to build more power on the inside. We do have to be in ranking positions and chairmanships. Yeah, that's all inside game. That helps. It helps the outside, not vice versa, right? Or kind of vice versa. But it is important, but it isn't the end all be all. But it has to happen. We do need to be able to get more people. We need to create an opt-in for the inside, and we've been able to do that. I'll leave on this, right? Take AIPAC, for instance, in Money and Politics. When we first introduced the Ceasefire Now resolution, I think it was about 9 of us, all people of color, right? All uber progressives. Maybe we got some other people who started calling for like conditional, we want a bilateral, ceasefire. I'm like, they all are, right? But in that year, we were never able to move. This year, we have now for the first time, we had 50-something people on the Block the Bombs Act. Of those 50-something people, a number of them are people who have actually received AIPAC dollars. Some of them have gone on the AIPAC trip, right? They have now publicly said that they will not accept AIPAC dollars. We are moving hearts and soul. We are moving people. So I just want to mention that because of the noise outside, because of the organizing, because of the righteous indignation, the moral stance, people in Congress are getting the message. And because we're there, we're able to have the bills, we're able to have the letters, we're able to have the organizing things that they can now attach themselves to. So we're giving them an opportunity to come to the right side of history, because our objective at the end of the day is to end a genocide. Our objective at the end of the day is to end racialized capitalism. And all of those things means we need more people in both spaces.
Representative of Pennsylvania's 12th Congressional District, Summer Lee, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.